Yes, it's indeed. It's unfortunate for all.
Thank you. Living beings need energy to live. Human beings get energy from water, food, and light. The same is for plants. Does not work. Next slide, please. In the
One moment, if I might interject, I would like to remind our colleagues that you have access to turn this, you have access to switch slides. You can click on the picture.
Okay. In the era of climate change and global warming, the biggest challenge that the human species will be forced to face is that of being able to feed a continuously growing world population that the United Nations estimates to exceed 8 billion in 2030. Of facing this very problematic scenario, the thinking new models of sustainable and environmentally friendly agricultural production is a task that is necessary and urgent as possible for a better use of a planet's renewable resource and of achieving a standardization of production quality. Does not work. Next slide, please. When we think of agriculture, rural farmers, products of the earth, we tend to mentally visualize rustic settings, simple workers, and the whole series of stereotypes that this archaic world carries with it. This thought is certainly obliged because of the care for the earth is truly ancient, just as man's desire to draw sustenance from a planet where he lives is ancient too. Next slide, please. But in the third millennium, there are no longer the peasant of the past and the current grows use production. The technology aimed at maximizing production and minimizing cost. Next slide, please. Today, then, always more often, we turn the so-called hydroponic cultivation methodology for all the species of a vegetable world. Next slide. From an etymological point of view, the known hydroponic derives from the juxtaposition of two words of ancient Greek, hydor, which means water, and ponos, which means hard work. Next slide. It also to be noted that hydroponics cultivation has remote origins. It is said that even the hanging gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, use this technology to make their terraces admirable. Next one, slide, please. Certainly, it was used by the ancient Greeks and by Atzeks, and also Marco Polo described the floating gardens used by the Chinese to grow plants on the surface of water. Next slide, please. Today, this type of cultivation has come back in vogue for a whole series of reasons. First of all, as we have seen, there is the need for ever greater food production to cope with the increase in population, and this with an ever greater reduction in production spaces. Then the protection of the environment. In hydroponic cultivation, in fact, there is a drastic reduction in water consumption and the use of fertilizer and pesticides and almost zero pollution of the subsoil. Next slide, please. The hydroponic or soil-less crops include all those cultivation techniques implemented in the absence of natural agricultural land, and at the basis of these cultivation techniques, there is the growth of terrestrial plants with their roots immersed directly in a nutrient solution. This allows to obtain intensive and mass cultivation. We can divide the various techniques of hydroponic cultivation into two main categories, the closed and open systems. Next slide. The closed systems. These technologies constantly enrich the root system of each plant with nutrients and easily lend themselves to automatic control. This category includes, for example, the nutrient film technique, which uses horizontal PVC pipes, in each of which a film of water enriched with a nutrient solution is made to flow. Holes are drilled in the pipes where the seedlings are housed. Next slide, please. You can see an example of this system in the greenhouse built inside the Zariaye Park. Next slide, please. In the open system, the nutrient solution is static and therefore not circulated in the medium. Among the systems most used in this category, we find the so-called floating system, where the plants are raised on floating supports and placed in tanks filled with nutrient solutions. Next slide, please. There are also do-it-yourself solutions. Here are two examples of hydroponic home system offered by Amazon. Advantages, next slide. No soil needed. Make better use of space and location in a cleaner growing environment. Climate control. Hydroponics is water saving. Fully control and effective use of nutrients. Accurate pH control of a solution. Plants grow faster, also with easy root access. No weeds, fewer pests and disease, less use of insecticides and herbicides. Next slide. Disadvantages. Next, initial cost and setup. Mistakes are harder to rectify. A hydroponic garden requires your time and commitment. Previous technical knowledge and experience is recommended. Power outages and system failure can be disastrous. Accurate temperature control needed. Water and electricity risk because they cannot mix together. Next slide, please. A final consideration. If on the one hand, from a visual point of view, a painting created with a computer will never have the infinite color nuance of a painting created by a painter. Next slide, please. On the other, next slide, please. On the other hand, from an organoleptic point of view, the tomatoes produced in Holland with hydroponic culture absolutely will not have the color, the smell, and the taste of those produced in the earth and under the Sicilian sun. Men first. Thank you very much.